Hello, everybody. Let's get straight into it. We've been talking about raising mental health awareness since the beginning of this expedition planning process, but I've never gone into why it's important for me. I've never really been able to speak about my mental health at all, in fact, but have been persuaded to, and I think and hope it'll be to my own benefit and also help us raise awareness for a very important issue that affects us all. So here we go. This is my attempt at talking about my own mental health. It's quite uncomfortable. I can't really talk about it very well. So I'm reading what I have written on a screen behind the camera. Apologies to those of you who are close to me if this comes as a shock, but there isn't a need to worry, and I say that because I feel like the worst of my mental health issues are behind me. Also, I know a lot of people in my immediate circle who are going through similar things. I hope this will act as an opportunity for the silent sufferers to open up if they are comfortable with doing so. So, what's going on with me? I've never talked about this because I feel pathetic saying it. And if you're trying to lead a team down the Amazon through challenging conditions, the last thing you want to be labelled as is pathetic. But that's how I've felt. And I thought if I shared this, then other people would think I'm pathetic too. The old-fashioned me would think mental health decline comes from a traumatic experience. So if you haven't had a traumatic experience and your mental health is in decline, then just man up and get on with it. But then I began to struggle, a dwindling of happiness, probably over a space of about, starting 4 or 5 years ago. No reason why, just a feeling of being out of place. Periods of anxiety, a loss in confidence, an inability to feel genuine happiness, and more worrying for me, losing the ability to connect with people, even my nearest and dearest. It's weird because right now I can't really feel happiness like I used to. It's a dulled down version. I'm kind of numb to it, and I've given up trying to find it and settled on this level plane, I guess. And when I kind of thought, fuck, maybe I have got depression or something going on, it sounds funny, but I could see myself laughing, or I noticed myself laughing like it wasn't real. I was watching myself laughing from outside and telling myself, whilst I was, in this social environment, you don't actually feel this happiness, so why are you laughing? I was almost too negative to laugh, I guess. At my worst, which was roughly a 12-month spell, I cringe to say it, but I did think about I thought about suicide, but not like that. Instead of suicide, doing something so insane that it would probably end in death. But I never considered it. It was just, I thought about it way too often, and that worried me. And just to be clear, the expedition is not designed under that train of thought. The idea for us is to survive it. Although I love and care for my family and friends, over the last few years I have had trouble finding connections with everyone, and not for lack of trying. This dulled down part of me won't let me connect in the same way that I used to be able to. and that also goes for activities. I need to train, I need to paddle, hike, run, but I don't get happiness from it anymore. The one way I can access momentary, genuine happiness at the moment is to have a serious binge with the lads, which I actually think helps reset me um, initially, but obviously it's followed by bad decisions, laziness, 4 days of anxiety and loss of confidence and unproductiveness. Yeah, we call it the fear, I guess. Uh, the fear is definitely real, and it does not help. It helps very briefly and goes in the opposite direction. So that one release is definitely not a release. And this feeling um, led me to question things in my life. I always knew the problem was within me, but I knew I had to make changes around me. It led me to ending a relationship with someone who cared for me deeply. And I still don't have the ability to expand on that. But I will say that it was that pain that caused me to obsessively plan this expedition. Planning the summit to sea was my route away from that pain. Yes. And also the feeling, or lack of feeling, probably is more of an accurate way of putting it, also led me to leaving the Corps and the support that comes from the Corps. If you're on the outside looking into the Corps, you'd be surprised just how much mental health is talked about and how much help is offered and how freely some of the hardest men that I know can talk about it. When something bad has happened to someone in the Corps, generally the lads will get round them um, in the correct way almost every time, from making light of it and laughing about it to deep, meaningful conversations, getting the lads professional help, even setting up charities like RV1 to help combat mental health issues, like one of my friends who we are supporting through the expedition has done. So the Corps community is amazing for that. Because of the Corps, I've met lads that I can tell things to that I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing with anyone else. It's a weird connection. It's a strange, strong, different connection. And I know that leaving the Corps can be a dark and lonely road without the right support. Now, I am absolutely still afloat. I have amazing people around me, an inspirational and loving father, tirelessly supportive and loving mother, unlimited love and kindness and support from family and friends, and also so much access to opportunities, training, wilderness, work, so on. Although I have had bad times and struggle with happiness and fulfillment, these massive positive elements in my life have kept me afloat and often in a good place. There are a lot of people out there without that support. Some people don't have the friendships and opportunities that have helped me get by my shit times. Some people do, and yet they're still at rock bottom. Mental health can affect us all differently, and all of us will be touched by it. When I was in training in Wales early in my career, I was on one of many a night out and found myself outside a wee club in Milford Haven. I think it was the only place still open at 5 a.m. in Pembrokeshire as far as we knew. I'd lost the lads and I was sitting by a wall talking to some locals, and then I heard what I thought was sobbing from the other side of the wall and jumped over to be met by a big drop down to, I think, a shipping yard. There was this guy hanging onto a tree saying he was going to end it, over the drop. And my natural instinct was to run over, grab him, put my back to the drop, and kind of bear hug him onto the tree. Also, naturally, about 4 or 5 of the Welsh revellers that I was with jumped over and sort of linked into a human chain, and we passed him along the edge over the wall back to safety. a bunch of drunk, random humans all willing to put themselves in harm's way to save another. We kept hold of him till the police arrived, and I hope they pointed him in the direction of support. Thinking about that now, I want to know what had led him to that. I didn't really consider it at the time. That guy could have been me were it not for my friends and family and opportunities that I have. He could have been one of my loved ones, and I might not have even known they were depressed. My mate Andy has just become a firefighter, and on his first shift, he had to talk a young lad off of a roof. The mental health problem in modern society is definitely real, and it needs more coverage. So, we, the Summit to Sea team, want to keep pushing that message forward and try and raise awareness so that everyone knows that there are support platforms out there like RV1 UK, a charity set up by a friend of mine from the Corps that believes in mental health rehabilitation through community and functional fitness. And we want to talk about it and make it an integral part of this expedition. I don't know why I personally have been negatively affected, but I think it's to do with lifestyle. I can't handle the way we in the West live. I don't want that lifestyle, clambering over each other to try and reach the class above, jumping through hoops at every opportunity, consumerism, all that. It's not me. It's not for my simple brain. I just need a simple or a different life. I really don't know. But besides friends and family, it's the natural environment that keeps my head above the water in this lifestyle that we lead. Doing things in nature keeps the darkness away, and I think our Western culture has become disconnected with nature. My dream is to learn how native populations along the Amazon care for and protect the forests and rivers on which they depend on. And there has to be content there in such a beautiful symbiotic relationship. I want to show that behaving in a caring way towards people and nature increases our happiness. And I think we can reintroduce that back into Western culture. Here comes the cheesy end. Replace materialism with care. Replace consumerism with generosity. Replace Amazon the company with the native Amazon mentality. All should feel welcome to talk about their inner thoughts without being labelled. I'm glad I've come round to that, and I'm sorry it took me so long to figure that out.